Good evening and welcome to part 2 of Domain and Range, where we will be focusing on continuous graphs. I apologize for the previous videos with no sound, but I think I have corrected the issue. So you are 100% going to need to take notes on this lesson. This is something brand new to you guys, and if you do not write these notes down where you can access them every time you need them, it's really going to cause you to get behind. Okay, so I need you to have this accessible. So you can just head your notes, Domain and Range on Continuous Graphs. And I'm going to pull my pen up. All right, so how do I write Domain and Range? How do I write Domain and Range? So your domain is going to be written some number, which is why there's a blank, less than x, less than some number, because domain is all of your x values. Range is going to be written some number, less than y, less than some number, because again, y is all of your, range is all of your y values. Now, my PowerPoint's looking slightly askew here, but we'll make ourselves get through it. So along with how do you write domain and range, you need to write these rules down, and I'll add to it a little bit. So open circle or an arrow, we need less than. So that means if I have a graph that looks like this, okay, this would be an open circle. An open circle means it goes almost to that point but doesn't include it. So let's say right here was at 0, 3. Then that point, 0, 3, is not included in the domain and range. We go almost to it, but not quite. An arrow means infinity. Infinity is a concept that cannot be, we cannot be equal to. So we can only be less than infinity. Okay? So if you see an open circle, or you see an arrow, we're going to use the less than symbol when we write domain and range. A closed circle, we use less than or equal to. Okay, so an example for this would be, say we had a similar thing, but it was a circle closed at 0, 3. That means 0, 3 is included in it. Okay, that would mean 0, 3 is included in it. Another example of a closed circle would be like a parabola, a quadratic graph. Okay, if it's a continuous graph that there's no breaks, it's considered a closed circle. So like this point right here is closed. There's not an open circle there, so it's the same as a closed circle. So again, arrows can indicate or do indicate infinity, and infinity can be both positive and negative. So I'm going to erase some of this information. So if I have the x-axis, okay, which is basically a number line, the positive side of the x-axis goes to positive infinity. The negative side of the x-axis goes to negative infinity. So that would be for domain. For range, we think about it like the y-axis. So here's 0, the origin. Positive side goes to infinity. Negative side goes to negative infinity. Okay. And again, anytime we're dealing with infinity, we're going to use the less than symbol because we cannot be equal to infinity. The last thing to talk about, domain goes from your leftmost point to your rightmost point. So we're going to start over here, leftmost point, and go to our rightmost point. Range goes from our lowest point to our highest point. If you need to pause the screen to finish writing anything down, please do so. Alright, so we're going to do some examples. I have added a copy of these notes, and if you have access to a printer, you can copy them out and follow these along with me. I know that most of you are not going to have access to a printer. I don't have a printer at my own house, but if you do, it would really help you to be able to have these graphs in front of you rather than just watching me do it. So the first thing we're going to do on number 1 is we're going to find the domain. So again, domain is all of your x values. So it goes along the x-axis. So when I'm talking about my x-axis, I'm talking about right here, my x-axis. Okay? So I'm going to ask myself, what's my leftmost point here, and what's my rightmost point here? Okay? So that's telling me that my domain is basically between those 2 points. Okay, so my domain goes, from here to here. So let's talk about what those points specifically are. So if I look at this point, this is at -1, -2, -3, -4, comma, 0. All right. And then this point right here is at 1, 2, 3, comma, 0. Okay. So domain is just my x values. So I'm going from -4 to +3. I'm going to have -4, leave a space for my inequality symbol, x, and 3. All right. This is a closed circle. Okay, you don't see an open circle there. You don't see an arrow. This is also a closed circle. So it would be less than or equal to. Okay, we never use greater than or equal to with domain and range. We're just going to use the less than symbols. Okay, now we're going to look at range. Range is all my y values. So my range is going to go from here at the lowest to here at the highest. So again, what is range? Range is basically telling me that all the points in between here and here are included. You can kind of think of domain and range, at least in this scenario with the circle, as almost like the area of your circle. It's anywhere that you could have a point in between. So my lowest point right here, I'm at 0, 1, 2, 3, so 0, -3. And here I'm at 0, 1, 2, 3, +3. Okay, 0, +3. All right, so my range, I go from lowest, so these are my y values, so -3, leave some space, y, to +3. Again, closed circle, so I use less than or equal to. Is it a function? No. Why not? Does not pass the vertical line test. All right, let's take a look at another. Get my pen color going again. All right, so again, we're going to start with our domain, which is all of our x values, So we go from left to right. So this is my leftmost point. This is my rightmost point. So my leftmost point has an arrow on it. An arrow tells me what? It tells me I'm continuing forever to infinity. Since I'm going to the left, this is going to -infinity. I'm going to have -infinity is less than x, because again, we cannot be equal to infinity. And then my furthest right point, again, is an arrow, so that's +infinity. So again, I cannot be equal to infinity, and then +infinity. Another way that you can write this is by saying all real numbers. Okay, because all real numbers are contained in between the space in negative and positive infinity. Sometimes you'll also see it written like this. So it looks like a capital R with 2 lines, which means all real numbers. Okay. Now we're going to do our range. So we're going to go our lowest and our highest. Lowest to highest. I'm going to change colors here. Alright, so this time when we think about our lowest point, and I know this can be confusing for some people, this is not only our leftmost point, it's also our lowest point. And this is not only our rightmost point, it's also our highest point. Because we know this line is going to keep going. It's not just going to the left, it's going down and to the left. And this line is going to keep going up and to the right. So again, we're dealing with the 2 infinities. So we're going to have -infinity less than y less than infinity, which again is all real numbers. Is it a function? Yes, because it passes the vertical line test. All right, number 3. Again, let's start with domain, all my x values. So again, what's my leftmost point? The furthest left I go is here. What's my rightmost point? The furthest right I go is here. Again, what am I dealing with those arrows? Negative infinity to the left, positive infinity to the right. So I'm going to have negative infinity is less than x is less than infinity, because again, we cannot be equal to infinity. All real numbers. Okay. Now I'm going to do my range. What's my lowest point? It's right here. So I do have a lowest point. That's at -1, -2, -3. So I'm at 0, comma, wait, not 0, sorry. I'm at 1, comma, -2 is this point, right? Over 1 from the origin down to 1, comma, -2. Okay, so I'm only dealing with y values, so I need the -2. This is a closed circle, it's not open. So I have less than or equal to. We're doing range, so this is y. And then what's my highest point? Well, my highest point is right here. It's continuing up forever, so less than infinity. Notice we have a less than or equal to and a less than. It doesn't have to be the same. It all has to do with what the points look like. Is this a function? Yes. Passes the vertical line test. Okay, I want to try to do one more today, and then we'll pick up again on my next video. So we're going to look at number 4 this time. So again, domain, all my x values. What's my leftmost point? What's my rightmost point? Again, it's arrows, which tells me negative infinity, less than x, less than infinity. All real numbers. Okay. Now for my range. So my lowest point is here. So that would be at -1, comma, -2. So -2 is my lowest point. It's closed, so less than or equal to y. What's my highest point? Those arrows tell me it is infinity. Is this a function? Yes, because it passes the vertical line test. So we're going to stop at 4 for today, and we will pick up with number 5 in my next video. Make sure that you look at the attached assignments that go along with your video. If you have any further questions, you can look up more videos to watch besides just mine. Just make sure that if you are looking up other videos, you look up domain and range, inequality notation. Okay, there's different ways of writing domain and range, and the way we teach is inequality notation. That's what this is called. All right. Email me if you need anything, if you have any questions, or send me a remind message, or let me know if you would like to pop in for office hours on Thursday. And have a great evening.